Hello, everyone. Peter Dennis here. Today, my guest is Rita Strough, and Rita channels a number of entities. It seems that just by intention, she can bring them in, but today she's bringing in St. Germain, and we'll get into interviewing St. Germain. He's an ascended master, and I've got a few questions about what ascended masters really are. But Rita, welcome. It's nice to be with you again.
Thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure to be with you as well.
Rita, I think our viewers would like to know more about channelers in general. And a point I like to get across is that channelers come from any walk of life.
Mm.
And I think it would be helpful if at this time you could just tell us a little about yourself, kind of where you were born, grew up, kind of work you do, things like that. Just tell us what you think is relevant here.
Okay, well, thank you. Of course, everyone loves to talk about themselves, but I was born and raised in a small town in South Jersey, New Jersey, Pensacola, New Jersey. Grew up in a large Italian Catholic family, went to Catholic grammar school, and I went to public high school. I'm the youngest of seven children. And I was raised Catholic, so we had an upbringing that was steeped in that religion, and it was just what we did. It was all I knew. I was always kind of a very curious child, though, and I learned kind of quickly. You're not really allowed to ask a lot of questions in organized religions. You're just supposed to take what you're learning and believe. But I was always very curious. I remember at a young age having an experience when I was probably about 8 years old. It was one of those experiences where I remember it to this day. So I know something happened, and really quickly I can relay it to you. I was asleep in bed, but something made me feel like I was awake, even though my body was still laying down. I guess my astral body kind of awakened and sat up on the edge of the bed. But then I felt my awareness beginning to minimize or get smaller and shrink. So I started to notice um, the window in front of me was going up higher. I was shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller until I was all the way down to the carpet. And then I could see the carpet fibers next to me. I could see the backing of the carpet underneath. And then I got smaller still, and I went through the backing of the carpet to the wood floor underneath. And then I could see and feel my awareness now, the perspective of my awareness go between the cells of the wood in the wood backing. And at this point, when I went through that gap, that space in between, my awareness just shot into outer space. It was as if I was everything and nothing at the same time. It was a very profound feeling because I felt so expansive, but I was an 8-year-old kid. So that's the last thing I remember. And then when I woke up in the morning, I remembered all of this. But of course, I couldn't share it with anybody who would listen to me. And I thought maybe it was a dream. As I got older, I realized that that was a profound experience, being everything and nothing at the same time. Fast forward to my teen years, I read a book about astral projection. I attempted to do it in my bed, laying in bed, closed my eyes, did everything it said. I felt this huge vibration come over me. I could feel my hands kind of peel off from my physical body. I felt myself sit up. I got freaked out, and jumped back in and said, I can't do that anymore. But I think a lot of us have experiences like that where we are experiencing something mystical or unusual, and we don't give it a second thought. It took me a long time to really come back around to being curious about spirit. I spent my teen years and young adult years just working. I worked in the insurance industry. My first job was with Colonial Penn. I'm sure you've all seen the ads on television for the insurance, but I worked my way up the ladder. I ended up going to school at night, and Colonial Penn offered the Penn program, which was able to get me into the University of Pennsylvania. So I was able to get an Ivy League education, which was amazing. I matriculated from their College of General Studies into the Wharton School of Business because, again, I was in the business world. I was thinking I was going to be an executive. My goal was to be, corner office, VP, that was my whole goal. I was very driven, very ambitious. And so I challenged myself to achieve all of these things. And what I realized was, you could get laid off in a moment and then everything's different. At some point, I started to feel like that really wasn't what I wanted, or what do I want? So in my early 40s, I started to have what I later learned were symptoms of ascension or symptoms of awakening, which is this kind of like a disorientation, a feeling of you don't know where you belong or what you're supposed to be doing. You question everything. Why am I on this crazy schedule, rushing off to work every morning and packing up my kids and sending them off to daycare and doing all this stuff and just rushing through life? It was crazy. So somehow I was complaining about something to my friend Anne, who our children played together. And she said to me, well, why don't you just ask your angels for help? And I was like, okay, I'll ask my angels for help. That's really cute. She goes, no, Rita, they're real. They're all around you. And then I thought, when I was a kid, over my bed that me and my sister shared, because there were so many of us in this house, we had this beautiful portrait of the guardian angel. It's a very familiar image most people have seen, with the two little children crossing the broken bridge at night. And I used to love that picture. And I used to say my angel of God prayer at night before I would go to bed. And when Anne said that to me, the angels are all around you, you should ask them for help, I'm like, how do I do that? So she started to send me books to read and things like that. And I got a deck of oracle cards and started playing with them. And I was just amazed at how much information I was getting. Then I read a book about how to talk to angels. It was by Barbara Mark and Trudy Griswold, and it's called Angel Speak. I read it in one night. And the next day I waited till everyone was out of the house. I lit a candle, I said the prayer, and I got my notebook out. And with all sincerity, I thought to myself, well, if it's real, prove it to me. I mean, I'm a very, very, very skeptical person. So sure enough, I sat there with this paper, and I just cleared my head completely. And I started to hear individual words coming to me. The first word I heard was love. And it just repeated in my head, in my own voice. And it just kept going, love, love, love. So I wrote down love. And then I heard peace. And it was just like that. Love, peace, peace, tranquility, tranquility, serenity, and all these beautiful harmony, all these beautiful words started coming out. I had a column of them going. And then I heard you. And I'm like, well, that's not one of these profound, beautiful words. I'll wait for the next word to come. But it just kept saying you, you, you. And I'm like, all right, you. And it was R, 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 going to. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting a sentence.
Mhm.
I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, close my eyes. I'm like, what is it? You are going to be working with us. We have so much work to do here on planet Earth. And this huge message came out. I was scratching it out on my pen and paper. My letters were all over the place, but it was a beautiful message about how I was going to be working with the angels and how they were looking for people to be open to working with them. This blew my mind. So of course I called Anne. But Anne, I just got this message. I read this book, and she said, oh my God, I've tried this so many times, but I haven't gotten anything. I'm like, really? She goes, can you ask my angels a question for me? And then it began. That's how it all started. I just started answering questions for people, asking their angels. I'm like, I don't know. What's your question? And they guided me. The angels literally guided me over and over and over again by giving me goosebumps and this feeling of like an elevated sense. I'd feel a pull up here, almost like a string was being pulled up through my third eye. I would feel myself come up a little bit. They taught me about using your breath to elevate your vibration, about how your voice is an activator when we call in the angels, if you call them with energy and enthusiasm and like a loudness to your voice, like, help me now, they come in. It's a vibrational frequency that calls them in. So, this began. I started a radio show with my friend Anne, which was another great story, but we started a little radio show called Talking Angel, where we'd take callers and we had our cards and people would ask questions and I would get the information, and she did too. She was getting information too. And that was so much fun. That evolved and changed. She eventually didn't want to do it anymore. And then I had a friend, Mike, who was getting into the law of attraction and positivity, Michael Gross. So he joined me on the show, and he had such a good time that he's like, oh boy, I'd love to do this with you. So we started co-hosting it for another 5 years. So for 7 years, I did a radio show from my basement, which was unbelievably fun, transformational. I opened a center in Cinnaminson where I live, called Just Breathe, where we were inviting people to come in. We had gatherings. I also had a good friend, Rose, who had since passed away, who got me started holding classes. She used to call into the show and ask questions. And she said to me, you need to have a class. You need to have people come together. You need to create gatherings. I'm like, really? So she had a friend of a friend with a space, and next thing you know, I'm holding classes. And Rose wouldn't let it just be one. She's after that was done, she said, nope, it's time to set the next one. Get your calendar out. She prodded me and goaded me to do that. So I credit her with a lot of it too, just helping me along my way. The whole time, the right people would come in, the right teachers, information. People would ask me, can you connect with my deceased wife? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think only mediums do that. And in my head, I'm hearing, yes, you can, yes, you can, yes, you can. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, what do I do? So while I would have a conversation with a person, I was simultaneously having conversations with my guides and angels, and they're telling me what to do. They're like, tell him to send you the name, tell him to email you, tell him to email you her name. So I said, well, can you email me? First thing, I opened up the email. As soon as I read her name, it was like her name was Irene, the first deceased person that I channeled. She was knocking on my head, like, let me in, let me in, let me in. She had this crazy message about how she was angry with the guy, that he should just move forward, you know? And I gave him this message, and he was like shocked because, yes, he had a friend of a friend of a friend. They were supposed to be together, but he felt guilty. Long story short, it worked. I was doing medium work. So I didn't know what to call myself. What am I? Am I an angel communicator? Am I psychic? Am I a medium? What am I? And lo and behold, the angel said, you're a channel. You're a divine channel. You're a channel to the divine. And I'm like, what is the divine? The divine is anything of a high vibrational frequency. So it's any beings that are on the other side. And also this I learned too, that there are levels to these dimensions of reality that we live in. The angels are just a breath right here. The angels are, you breathe and it's right here. You know, deceased loved ones, maybe a little bit here, maybe a little bit there. That astral plane is kind of in the middle there, you know. Ascended masters is a little bit higher. They're on another level up. But also in doing all of this work, I learned that you have to protect yourself, or at least ask for protection, because you're opening yourself and there's lots of energy out there. So just calling in Archangel Michael and asking him to protect me helped me with so much of this too. I learned that, you know, your vibrational frequency can go down. You know, here's your frequency. You can raise it to talk to angels, deceased people, ascended masters, extraterrestrials, whoever's out there, but you can also go down. So you can go down into elemental realms. You can talk to fairies. You can talk to the mound people, who I never heard of until they channeled through. I was channeling Norse gods, right? And so then I'm thinking, wait a minute, are these fictional characters, these archetypes? Who are these people? They taught me that anyone who has ever been prayed to or deified, whether you believe in them or not, has an energy and a frequency, and they are actually around in a dimension. They exist in a dimension. Wherever they are, you can access them. And my guides had helped me channel my frequency down to a lower frequency to communicate with that particular being. You can communicate with animals, with plants, with the crystals in mineral kingdom. Oh my God, inner earth. There's so many layers and levels, and it's all frequency based. So as a channel, you learn how to, just like on a radio station, tune it in to get the clarity that you're looking for. It took me a really long time to realize that's what I am. I'm a channel. So while I do this work, like kind of part-time, I guess, in my full-time life, I now own a little cleaning business that I've had for the last 14 years, which again was kind of divinely set up for me as I was having my awakening, as all this was happening. I happened to get laid off from my job. I happened to be going through this awakening process, asking all these questions like, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to go back to that life. I don't want to be an executive anymore. I don't want to do that work anymore. And they opened this channel up for me, the cleaning. I never would have thought of it in a million years, but it was perfect. It gave me control over what I do with my day. It's physical. I felt good at the end of the day. It changed my body. It gave me time to think freely. It's like a Zen activity. So here I am today, an owner of a little business, my cleaning business. And I do this work because it feels good. And I do sessions with people and I do Reiki. I had since gotten Reiki attuned. I'm a Reiki master. So I do energy healing for people and I hold gatherings. I hold what I call channeled meditations. I do these like little gatherings. I have a new space. I had to shut down Just Breathe because of the pandemic. And then I waited a couple of years and then rented a new space. But these little gatherings where we just come together, breathe, and then I channel whatever the meditation is. And we go on some wild journeys of healing and discovery. It's just at the end, people are like, that was beautiful. That was just what I needed. And I invite the participants to kind of like, let's go around the room. What do you need right now? What's on your mind? What's in your heart? And that all gets dumped like ingredients into a soup pot. And then the guides and angels who come in, whoever wants to channel through, uses what's needed and they develop a meditation based on who's there. That's pretty cool too. So I know I
Yeah.
just talked for a really long time.
That's okay. Yeah, you said a lot of interesting things, and I really like that analogy of a radio receiver. You know,
Yeah.
you just turn to the frequency and you get the being who resides in that frequency.
Yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
oversimplifying it, but that's exactly how it was coming through because when this Heimdall, the Norse god of guards the bridge between heaven and earth. Again, another interesting symbolic thing for, I had no idea who Heimdall was. And when
Mhm.
it started to come through, it was choppy, almost like a station that wasn't tuned in. I was getting bits and pieces of words. The vibes like that I feel in my body would come and go. And then I asked Archangel Michael, I'm like, what is going on? If this is of a, like a malevolent, or if this is not good for me, I want you to take it away from me. And it was like, no, just breathe and slow it down. Slow yourself. So deep, long breaths. And then you go like, and you bring your body down, like through the, like slow your breathing really low. And now you're humming like, It's like when you go, down. Then I could start to hear it. I could start to hear him. He was talking about the trumpets blowing and the beginning of the fight between good and evil and these two forces coming together and all of this stuff. So I'm like, but again, his name came through as I heard it like Hemstall. It's to me, I thought it was Hemstall, and I'm like Hemstall. So I started just Googling Hemstall, nothing's coming up. And then I thought, let me just look for like images of Norse gods. So I Googled images of Norse gods, and I saw one that looked exactly like the guy that I saw, which was almost like a cartoon image of a guy with one of those helmets with the horns, bare barrel chest, and like a, I don't know, a skirt kind of a thing with the boots, right? Holding a thing. And I'm like, what? So I clicked on that. It was from a children's book. And I scrolled down and there it is, Heimdall, like, protector of the realm between heaven and earth. And it says that he, when the time comes, will sound his horn to announce Ragnarok. I'm like, the end of the world. I'm like, what? Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I just had like, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. How is it possible that I'm connecting with this information? And then what does that mean? Is it the end of the world? Then, of course, the guides are like, no, 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 no. It's not like the end of the world. It's the end of a certain kind of consciousness, the violence, the scarcity, lack, the fear. That's the end. It's coming to the end of that. Now, again, this is going to take some time to move through, but we're like pioneers. The people that are here now are really anchoring in the new world. It started in little blips and shots and waves, but it's really coming into its own in this period between 2012 and 2032. This is our kind of our anchoring transitional period. And then after that, it's going to take off.
Well, all the beings who I've experienced through channeling are all talking about being here to assist us through that transition from the third dimension of consciousness to the fifth. Rita, these days you're calling in, I don't know, an infinite number of individuals, just depending how you set your intention.
Right.
But I know that one of your favorite boyfriends is Saint Germain.
He's becoming that.
Yeah.
I mean, he would used to pop in occasionally, and now it seems like with you involved, he's like, I've got to talk to Peter. Maybe it's you that's bringing him in. I don't know.
Well, he's a joy, and I guess he's kind of an ambassador of joy in a sense. He
Yeah.
seems to always be very upbeat, happy, and as you know, he just delivered some messages that we're going to put out on video. But at this time, can you bring him in? I'd like to have a word or two with him. I think our audience would be interested in just what an ascended master is and
Okay, you're
how
up,
he
buddy.
yeah, okay. Well, you bring them in and we'll go from there.
Okay, no problem. Hold on.
Saint Germain is here already. I can tell.
Oh, okay. So he's like, oh, is it my turn? And he's like pretending like put on the right kind of makeup. He's like, oh, just a minute, powdering up. Okay, hold on. They have a great sense of humor too, by the way. Okay, hold on. Go ahead. Okay. Well, thank you for putting me back in the chair. I'm ready to talk whenever you are.
Good. Well, I'm sure our audience would like to know a little more about ascended masters. So, would you please tell us a little about how one gets to be an ascended master and what that is?
Hmm. It's interesting that you say that because everyone is already an ascended master in another dimension of reality. You've all already evolved in a future version of yourselves. So, what is your question again? What makes an ascended master? How does one become an ascended master?
Yes, my understanding is that ascended masters have been humans through various lifetimes. And I guess after a certain number of them, and maybe they have to be of some importance, I'm not sure. But at some point, after you die from your last life, you become an ascended master to help humans who are still on Earth. So I'm curious about how do you become an ascended master and what is it that you actually do and what are you really?
We are etheric beings of light. We have, in fact, had incarnated forms. Some of us have had multiple lifetimes. Some of us may have been fast-tracked to be where we are today. To understand this, let's say there are universities that have degree programs from associate degrees to PhDs. So when individuals come into the university, they sometimes have the capability, the capacity, the aptitude, if you will, for the harder subjects. And some people just simply don't. They're either not interested or lack the capacity to handle that level of information. So ascended beings are essentially those people that we could equate to in your world or understanding as perhaps the geniuses or the prodigies or those who come along with some otherworldly adaptations that allow them to process massive calculations in their minds that others need a computer to do. Ascended masters have an aptitude for the world's systems, how it functions, how physical form works. The species you know today as the human species has been under an evolutionary path for a very long time. And you've had cousins along the way in the evolutionary paths, others, forms of human-like beings who have died out, gone extinct, or changed, or adapted, or evolved, just as many other species have on this planet, because this planet is a very unique and beautiful form. This is one of the most fascinating creations in all of the universe. And that's why there's so much attention placed upon it. So some of the beings that you classify as ascended masters are simply beings from other star systems. who have advanced technologies and understandings and can interact with this world in a way that is far superior than the information and understanding that is presently available on your planet. So those are not really ascended masters. They're just other beings who, in their own ways, have advanced capabilities like PhD level understandings of matter, physics, and mathematics, the structural pieces, the fractals that create the universe that you see before you. So don't think of it as something unattainable. It is attainable. And in the human sense of it, the soul that comes in to do the work here as a human is on an evolutionary path towards mastership. And basically what that means is understanding how to live within this world as a master, meaning understanding how you can interact with it at an elemental level, how you can adapt and change anything on this planet, because it is all subject to your guidance, your intention, your creative pursuits and desires. Let's put it this way. If someone wants to achieve something here, they simply have to imagine it first and then dedicate their lives to learning everything they can about it, applying themselves with dedication and passion, and lo and behold, it comes into form. Rita, you can open your eyes.
Oh, there she is.
So there you have it. The words that I speak to you come today from my understanding of an ascended master, which if you ask other ascended masters, they might have their own opinion, just as if you asked multiple PhD candidates or doctors to expound on a particular subject. Each of us has our own life experiences that would color or illustrate our understandings, our opinions, how we describe something. But at its core, an ascended master is someone who has had time here on earth in various capacities and who has a knowledge and a wisdom of the intricacies of matter such that they can perform what you might call miracles. We are talking about bilocation, which I am known for, and others, and even transformational transfiguration, like Lord Master Jesus, who had demonstrated for others his capabilities in the words that you've learned from your Bible books. These stories that have been told, it was him showing us that we are all capable of transfiguration, transformation of matter and form by understanding it at the basic levels. It just goes beyond what you're prepared for at this time. So know that each of you, as you evolve, as your souls evolve, as you continue to come in and out of form through incarnation, and even in the times in between incarnations, when you are working with your teams and advisors, you're having experiences all the time and you're always learning. So what we want you to understand about ascended masters at this time is that there is a heightened awareness now on the ability of individuals to raise their frequency or vibration to a level that will allow them to play more creatively with creation, with manifestation. If you've noticed, people are telling you in their circles that they are manifesting much quicker than they ever could before. In the past, it would have required creations of things like vision boards and much more work of affirmations and reinstalling programs in your mind to repeat mantras to yourself to allow something to take hold, take root, and then grow here into physical being. But now it seems merely the mention of something, the thought of something can bring it into being. And we know right now that there are a number of souls who are ready and willing and able to do this work for the entire planet to help it shift everyone into the next frequency level. So ascended masters are involved intimately now with many people all over the planet who have experienced awakenings, who have come to know themselves as spiritual beings, who are recognizing their own true divine natures, who are connecting with their angels, guides, and others who allow them to learn, evolve, change, shift, who have watched themselves transform as they engage with that aspect of themselves. And now there is more available for us to channel through. So that's why we say the work that you're doing is so important, because there are many people who are open and willing and ready to step into that role of teacher, or just simply as a channel to share what's coming through from the master realms. We all understand that it's a difficult time to live here right now, that there is much to be worried about, as humans do tend to worry at this level or frequency of consciousness. They don't yet understand or know that everything happens for a purpose and a reason, and that many souls come into incarnated lives so that they can make sacrifices for others. There are those who die in mass shootings who have come in for that purpose, to be a victim. There are many who come in as ruthless dictators so that we can learn how to recognize what that is, what evil looks like embodied, so that we can understand it and we can learn from it and we can change and we can demand something more from ourselves. This is why we're here now, because there is transformation taking place across the planet, and ascended masters are aiding and assisting. So how do you become one? By simply following your own evolutionary path towards greater understanding of the self, and then learning to play more with your creative powers and abilities. It can take a long time to get to where I or other ascended masters are, but it can also take the blink of an eye. You simply need to recognize that it is coming for each and every one of you, and that you are at some point in another dimension already ascended. So you could even call upon the ascended master version of yourself from a future iteration or from another dimension to help you understand what you specifically need to do in this particular life, because each life has its own purpose to be fulfilled as well. It's just like a book with chapters. Each life is a chapter, and you're not done your book until you've achieved this mastery of understanding, knowledge, and compassion and wisdom. And when that has completed itself, you can then choose to stay and continue to work with others like we have. Or you can go on to your next assignment, whatever that may be. We don't want to give it all away here, do we? There's so much to learn already, and it's hard to get too much in your head because we don't want you to be overwhelmed. This is why masters sometimes will work with individuals on a particular topic or in small ways until they feel more comfortable and have reached a level of confidence in their abilities to work with this information. I hope that answers your question.
Well, it goes a little beyond what I asked, I think, and I really appreciate that. I'm wondering, it seems to me that masters have specialty areas in which they work, and I'm wondering, is that the case? And if so, what is your area of, let's say, expertise, or the areas in which you work?
Oh, that's a very good question. And it is true. And again, I will point you back to the PhD analogy. Some people have PhDs in nuclear medicine, others in geology. So every subject demands its own level of dedication and expertise and understanding. Mine is in manufacturing magic, joy, helping people become attuned to their, I use the word magical selves because okay, let's use the analogy with the Harry Potter movies. If you've seen them, you know, you have the wizards and the witches, and then you have the muggles. The muggles being the ones who are non-magical in that fictional movie and book series. But the way that it works is I come along to help you develop your skills and abilities to be able to transcend this world in the way that I would describe it as achieving a state of joy, even though you're still you and you're still doing the same things. You're doing them in a different way, from a different perspective, expecting nothing more than just the satisfaction of the feeling of joy. So we use our talents and abilities to aid individuals in different ways. And for me, again, it is about coming out of the spiritual closet, if you will, helping people engage with their higher selves, with their magical selves, engaging with them when they want to create, helping people who are motivated to teach, to write, to produce content for consumption by others, to spread the word about how magical we all are, how magical this place is, the earth, and how connected to it we are. So we have to understand more about the properties of the physical world in order to master it at the level that you're looking for, and how to listen more intently to what is being said to you from these other species and beings and elementals. For example, the element water has so much to say to us, but who's listening? Who's channeling water? This one has. Earth speaks, air speaks, as well as the trees and every individual species that lives on the planet. So my expertise, if you will, is to help people understand the joy of being in tune with themselves, with their own divine creative potential, their magic maker, their manifestation abilities, and their ability to connect cross species and through dimensions with others for the purpose of learning, teaching, and assimilating that knowledge into wisdom that is shared for others to gain clarity, to feel that sense of excitement of being here, of joy of life, joy of being in the body. Many people sometimes lament that they are in their bodies, and that makes me very, very sad. You should never lament being in your body, no matter what its condition, even if you're confined to a wheelchair. If your heart is beating and you have a pulse and you have a frequency and a vibration, you are experiencing something that 95% of beings cannot. You are physical. So take it all in, because you know it goes away, it dies away, it reincarnates again and again. That's true. But this particular form at this time, this is the one you're in now. Just as the fruit that you consumed this morning moves through your body and nourishes it and comes out the other end, and then it transforms into something else, you too, your bodies, this life will be consumed here with any luck, and it will be fully, fully satisfying to the generations that follow, to this concept of the oneness of who we all are. Each person is experiencing their lives for all of us. So as you, again, why point to this piece of wisdom for you today to understand, as you see other people in your lives, as you witness what is going on around you, know that everyone who is doing anything, whether you agree with them or not, whether you're disgusted by them or enamored by them, are doing it for all of us, so that we can learn and evolve. Because you can't see the difference if you don't have the contrast. You can't always just be staring into a mirror. You have to be looking beyond that mirror into what is behind it. What is the unifying code, the frequency that is all of us, and get in harmony with that. And then your individual self will have its own tune to sing that sounds beautiful to everyone. So I'm here to help tune the world up, to get in touch with our magical natures. Again, a bit long-winded, I apologize, but that is my goal. That is my mission. I want you to feel magical, creative, powerful, and filled with joy at all times.
Well, thank you. Not long-winded, just full of information, and really appreciate it. I did have, I think, a number of questions here, and I think you've addressed them in the two that I did ask. Before we wrap this up, which we should do fairly soon, is there a final word you might have for humanity? Something that would maybe nudge us along the path to ascension?
Maybe not just what?
Maybe something that would nudge us along the path to ascension?
Oh, a goad.
Yes.
Yes. Don't we always need to be goaded? Just as we all know, when you need something to move forward, sometimes you have to experience a little bit of pain. That is what a goad does it not? If you were to dig your spur into the backside of a horse, it would goad it to run faster. When you poke and prod, that's what makes something move. So when you ask, is there anything that we can do to advance us along this path further? I'm sorry to say it, but it is experiencing some discomfort and pain. Because, see, in the process of experiencing the pain, this is when you learn how to change from it, how to take it in, how to see it for what it is. If anything, I would say the most important thing you can do now is to forget about complaining. Complaining is a frequency or a vibration that is really very, I want to say it's sticky. It's sticky. It clogs up the gears. Complaints, feeling like you've been wronged, wanting to correct the injustices of the world. Now, we can see that from an altruistic point of view. Yes, there are people who are engaged in activist activities, and these are extremely important, but I'm speaking of it from a personal nature. Whenever you feel offended, look deeply into what it is that is being offended. What has felt the offense? Is it truly something that you need to feel that way about? It's important for you to understand that every time someone pushes your buttons, or you feel like you're being pressed or in some other way angered, irritated, frustrated, these are the times when you are growing the most, when you need to understand, dig in deep, look to what is causing you to feel that way in the first place, and then look at the source of it. Where is it coming from? How can you better understand it? Where is the compassion? Where is the understanding? Where is the understanding that there, but by the grace of God, go I, looking and seeing yourself in another who has been through a different set of circumstances, a different set of environmental factors, if you will. So yes, in order to advance along the path, you have to learn how to come into contact with something that is difficult or painful and make use of it, just as the horse makes use of that painful jab and it sparks that extra energy to run as fast as it can. You are also being goaded in the same way. So take it all in that way. Never demonize those you disagree with or have arguments with, even if their behavior is despicable. Look at them and say to yourself, there is something that isn't right, either in their brain or their emotional body. There are many types of illnesses in the human form, not just physical illness or mental illness, but emotional illnesses as well. There are many beings who come in today who are classified as autistic. These are beings who have so much to teach us because they require so much patience and dedication. They require us to look beyond what we're seeing and feel into the being inside. And even though there are times or types of this disease or condition that are painful for those around the person, how much is that person who is helping the autistic one growing by leaps and bounds? So just take that into your contemplation, if you will. Take that thought and meditate upon it. Ask yourself, what have I resisted? Where have I said no? And where can I say yes? See what comes through for you, because each individual is different. And it is through these processes of going through the tough stuff, the difficult parts, that we can exercise our greatest strength and grow in a much faster way. And you know, because this evolutionary shift is upon us now, and it is accelerated and it is moving a lot faster now because, you know, like a snowball rolling downhill, it gathers momentum from the mass that's added to it, and it becomes more powerful over time. This is what the human consciousness has been doing. So it is literally just a matter of time before so much momentum has been gained that everyone will be pulled into this direction. There are still those who are unawakened, unaware, who perhaps are not as far along in their journey as some others. But we do not judge people for where they are on their journey. It is something that we understand and we appreciate and assist as we can, but never judge or never hold someone down because of that. Always seek to elevate, always seek to encourage, always seek to enhance. And the minute you hear a complaint come out of your own mouth, stop it in its tracks and say, what do I have to be thankful for in this moment? Go through your list of things to be thankful for. Gratitude counts. Gratitude counts more than you could possibly imagine. Holding gratitude in your heart for just being here, for being alive. And utilize your talents and abilities. Don't let them lay dormant. Use them, whatever they may be. And whatever makes you happy, do it. If you're an introvert and you'd prefer to just be at home away from people, do it. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel like you're not supposed to do that or you're supposed to be more outgoing. No, honor it, cherish it. For in those introverted moments when you are staying home, perhaps you are being the most creative and the most healing version of yourself that you can be. That's all that is ever being asked of any of us, is to engage with the truth, the authentic nature of our own divine beings, and to do so in harmony with the rest of the world, the planet that we live upon, and the beings who live upon it. This is my message for you. And I appreciate you and everything that you all do and how hard it is. I know I've lived through a life or two myself, so I can say I know what it feels like. I understand the pain. I understand the agony. I understand what it feels like to not know. But in this time, at this moment, you have to learn to trust yourselves, learn how to be comfortable in the, what I call creative void, the field of all potentials. Let yourself be in the unknown and be comfortable with it. Be okay in the dark, be okay in the void, for from that springs the new, and everything beautiful shall come to you.
Oh, thank you, St. Germain, very much. Let's have Rita back and we can wrap this up.
You want to just say also, you know how much you matter in this world. Never forget that.
Mm.
He's going out. He's like, thank you so much for letting me be here. He's like bowing out. He's bowing out. And again, when I say bowing out, he's just stepping to the side. He's still very much part of our conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, St. Germain. God, I love this guy.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Rita, we're going to have to wrap up. But if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I have a website. It's called IamADivineBeing.com. It's kind of long, but you spell it out. IamADivineBeing.com. That's my website. I am on Instagram, but I don't have a lot going on out there right now. And that is at Rita.thedivine. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Rita.thedivine. And again, I've been kind of guided to wrap up some things in my life that I'm doing and move more deeply into the work of the masters and putting things out there that come through for people. So you can expect more to flow from that outlet. But if you're in the local area, if you're in the southern New Jersey area, I'm close to Philadelphia, Morristown, Cherry Hill, Mount Laurel. In this area, I have a center called Divine Being Spiritual Fitness Center, which is by appointment only. But this is where I meet clients for sessions, and I also hold these meditation classes and other classes. And usually I list that on my website, so you can find that at IamADivineBeing.com. And thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This has been considerable, I guess. St. Germain's messages were outstanding, and you as a channeler delivered them beautifully. I really appreciate it. Thank you.